Emily and Hannah were inseparable as children, their bond forged through shared secrets and endless adventures in their hometown. Growing up in the quiet countryside, they spent their days exploring the dense woods, swimming in the clear river, and creating imaginary worlds. Their parents, busy with their small farm, cherished the girls' closeness, knowing that their daughters were each other's greatest treasures. However, life had different plans, and the sisters' paths diverged in a way they could never have anticipated. When Emily was 18, she received a scholarship to study art in the city. It was an opportunity she couldn't pass up, but it meant leaving her sister behind. Hannah, 2 years younger, understood but was heartbroken. She helped Emily pack, trying to hide her tears. Emily promised to write and call, and they hugged tightly, both feeling the weight of the impending separation. The first year was bearable. They communicated often, sharing every detail of their lives. But as Emily's studies became more demanding and Hannah took on more responsibilities at the farm, their calls became less frequent. Tragedy struck when their parents were killed in a car accident. Hannah, now 16, was thrust into adulthood, left to manage the farm alone. Emily, overwhelmed with grief and guilt, tried to return home, but the journey was long, and by the time she arrived, the funeral was over. Hannah was a shell of her former self, her once lively eyes now dull. The sisters argued bitterly, the pain of their loss manifesting in harsh words. Emily left, promising to return, but she didn't. She buried herself in her studies, hoping to escape the sorrow that haunted her. Years turned into decades. Hannah continued to manage the farm, its fields and animals, a constant reminder of her parents. She never married, dedicating her life to the land that had been her family's legacy. She became known in the village for her strength and resilience, but those who knew her well could see the sadness she carried. She often thought of Emily, wondering where she was and how she was doing. The distance between them seemed insurmountable, yet the bond of sisterhood lingered in her heart. Emily, on the other hand, achieved great success as an artist. Her paintings, filled with the beauty and pain of her memories, gained international acclaim. She traveled the world, exhibiting her work and living a life of luxury. But the emptiness inside her grew. She missed Hannah terribly, their childhood memories becoming a source of both inspiration and anguish. Emily tried to reach out several times, but her letters went unanswered, and her calls unreturned. She felt the weight of her choices, the success she had gained tainted by the loss of her family. One day, while browsing through a small antique shop in Paris, Emily stumbled upon an old photograph of 2 young girls. They were standing in front of a familiar farmhouse, their faces beaming with joy. It was her and Hannah. The shopkeeper explained that he had acquired the photo from a traveler who had found it in a rural village. Emily's heart raced. This was a sign, a reminder of the bond she had neglected. She decided then and there to find her sister, to mend the rift that had grown between them. Emily returned to her hometown, her heart heavy with anticipation and fear. The village had changed little, its familiar sights and sounds bringing a flood of memories. She made her way to the farm, now weathered by time but still standing proudly. Hannah was in the fields, tending to the crops. She looked up as Emily approached, her face a mixture of shock and disbelief. For a moment, they simply stared at each other, the years of separation hanging heavily between them. "Hannah," Emily whispered, tears streaming down her face. "It's me, Emily." Hannah's eyes filled with tears, and she dropped the basket she was carrying. "Emily," she replied, her voice cracking. "Is it really you?" They embraced, holding each other tightly, their tears mingling. The years of pain and distance melted away in that moment, replaced by the overwhelming joy of reunion. They stood there for what seemed like an eternity, neither willing to let go. Finally, they pulled back, studying each other's faces, noting the changes time had wrought. "I've missed you so much," Emily said, her voice trembling. "I'm so sorry for everything." "I've missed you too," Hannah replied, wiping her tears. "But you're here now, and that's all that matters." The days that followed were filled with conversations and shared memories. They walked through the fields, reminiscing about their childhood adventures. Emily helped Hannah with the farm work, rediscovering the simple pleasures of the life she had left behind. They talked about their parents, their hopes and dreams, and the struggles they had faced. The bond they had once shared grew stronger, forged anew by their mutual love and understanding. Hannah showed Emily the farmhouse, pointing out the changes she had made over the years. They sat by the fireplace, where their family had once gathered, and shared stories late into the night. Emily painted, capturing the beauty of the farm and the essence of their reunion. Her art became a celebration of their love, a testament to the strength of family bonds. As the months passed, Emily and Hannah found a rhythm in their new life together. Emily decided to stay, converting the old barn into an art studio. She continued to paint, her work now infused with the warmth and love of her rediscovered family. Hannah, no longer burdened by the weight of loneliness, found joy in sharing the farm with her sister. They became a part of the village community, their story inspiring others with its message of forgiveness and hope. Their reunion brought healing not only to themselves but to those around them. The villagers, who had watched Hannah struggle for years, were overjoyed to see her happy again. Emily's presence brought new life to the farm, and her art drew visitors from far and wide. Together, the sisters created a haven of love and creativity, a place where the past was honored, and the future looked bright. In the quiet moments, Emily and Hannah would sit together, reflecting on their journey. They knew that life was unpredictable and that they had been given a second chance to cherish their bond. They were grateful for the time they had been granted and for the love that had sustained them through the years of separation. And so, in a small village, amidst the beauty of the countryside, two sisters found their way back to each other. Their story was one of love, resilience, and the unbreakable bond that can withstand even the greatest of life's challenges. They were together, and that was all that mattered. Story 2. In the heart of a quaint little town, nestled among rolling hills and lush forests, lived Grandma Ellen. Her cottage, with its ivy-clad walls and a garden full of wildflowers, was a haven of warmth and love. Ellen had been the heart of her family, a source of wisdom and joy for her children and, later, her grandchildren. But as life's inevitable changes swept through the family, Ellen found herself alone, separated from her beloved grandchildren, Mia and Liam. When Mia and Liam were young, their weekends were spent at Grandma Ellen's cottage. Mia, with her golden curls and inquisitive eyes, would often be found curled up in Ellen's lap, listening to stories of enchanted forests and brave heroes. Liam, with his boundless energy and mischievous grin, loved exploring the garden and creating imaginary worlds. Their time at Grandma's house was filled with laughter, adventure, and the comforting embrace of family. But as the children grew older, life took them in different directions. Mia and Liam's parents had moved to the city for better job opportunities, and with their busy schedules, they found it difficult to visit Ellen as often as they had. The distance grew, and the visits became infrequent. Over time, the letters and phone calls became less frequent, and Ellen felt the weight of their absence more acutely. She missed her grandchildren dearly and longed for the days when their laughter filled her home. Years passed, and Grandma Ellen's hair turned silver, her once vibrant garden now a bit untamed. Her heart remained full of love for Mia and Liam, but the ache of separation was always there. One day, as Ellen sat in her favorite armchair by the window, she received a letter. It was from Mia, now a young woman with a life of her own. The letter spoke of Mia's job as a journalist and Liam's career as a teacher. But most importantly, it was a letter of apology and a promise to visit. Ellen's eyes welled up as she read the words. Mia and Liam had not forgotten her. They missed her too and wanted to make amends for the lost time. The letter spoke of their plans to visit her for the summer, to rekindle the bond they had once shared. Ellen clutched the letter to her chest, tears of joy streaming down her face. She began to prepare for their arrival, her heart fluttering with excitement. The days leading up to the visit were a whirlwind of activity. Ellen cleaned the cottage from top to bottom, dusted off the old family photos, and even planted a few new flowers in the garden. She wanted everything to be perfect for her grandchildren. She baked their favorite cookies, and she made sure that the old rocking chair was in the right spot by the fireplace. When the day finally arrived, Ellen was a bundle of nerves and excitement. She stood at the window, peering out as the familiar sound of car tires on gravel grew closer. The car came into view, and Ellen's heart raced. Mia and Liam stepped out, their faces a little older but still bearing the same warm smiles from their childhood. Ellen stepped outside, her arms open wide. Mia! Liam, she called out, her voice breaking with emotion. Grandma Ellen! Mia cried, rushing into her embrace. Liam followed, his eyes misty as he hugged her tightly. For a moment, time stood still, and they were the children they once were, laughing and playing in the garden. The reunion was filled with joy and nostalgia. They walked through the garden, reminiscing about the adventures they had shared. Ellen showed them the changes she had made, the flowers she had planted, and the new birdhouse she had put up. Mia and Liam listened, their eyes shining with the same curiosity and wonder they had as children. That evening, they sat around the old oak table for dinner, just as they had done so many times before. The table was laden with Ellen's homemade dishes, roast chicken, fresh vegetables from the garden, and, of course, the cookies. As they ate, they shared stories of their lives, filling each other in on the years they had missed. Mia talked about her career as a journalist, her travels around the world, and the stories she had covered. Liam spoke about his life as a teacher, the students he had inspired, and the challenges he had faced. Ellen listened with pride, marveling at the adults they had become. After dinner, they gathered around the fireplace. Ellen took out an old photo album, its pages yellowed with age. She showed Mia and Liam the photographs of their childhood, the moments frozen in time. The children laughed at the old pictures of themselves, and Ellen told stories behind each photo, her eyes twinkling with joy. As the evening wore on, the conversation turned to their memories of the past. Mia and Liam recalled the stories Ellen used to tell them, the adventures they had in the garden, and the special times they spent together. They laughed about the times they had tried to catch fireflies and the games they had played. Ellen's heart swelled as she listened to their voices, each story a testament to the love they had shared. The following days were filled with more laughter and bonding. They took walks in the forest, just like they used to, and explored the nearby lake. They spent time in the kitchen, baking together and reminiscing about the recipes Ellen had taught them. They created new memories, enjoying each other's company and rekindling the bond that had been dormant for so long. One afternoon, they sat by the lake, watching the sun set over the water. The sky was painted with hues of orange and pink, and the tranquility of the moment was almost overwhelming. Ellen looked at her grandchildren, her heart full. "I never thought I'd see you both again," she said softly. Mia took Ellen's hand, squeezing it gently. "We should have been here sooner. We've missed so much time." Liam nodded, his eyes reflecting the colors of the sunset. "But we're here now. We have this time together, and we'll make the most of it." The summer days passed quickly, each one a precious gift. The time they spent together was a blend of old memories and new experiences, a celebration of their family bond. As the day of their departure approached, Ellen felt a pang of sadness. She knew that they had to go back to their lives, but the thought of their leaving made her heart ache. On the final evening of their visit, they sat around the table once more, enjoying a simple meal and reflecting on their time together. They talked about their plans for the future, promising to stay in touch and visit more often. Ellen gave them both a small, handmade gift, a locket with their family photo inside, a symbol of the love that would always connect them. When the time came for Mia and Liam to leave, Ellen stood at the edge of the driveway, holding their hands as they prepared to say goodbye. Tears glistened in her eyes, but there was a smile on her face. "Thank you for coming," she said. "This has been the happiest time of my life." Mia hugged her tightly. "We'll be back, Grandma Ellen. We promise." Liam gave her a gentle kiss on the cheek. "We love you, Grandma." As the car drove away, Ellen waved until they were out of sight. Her heart was heavy but also full of hope. She knew that this reunion was not the end but the beginning of a new chapter in their lives. The memories they had created would be a source of joy for years to come, and the bond they had rekindled was unbreakable. Ellen returned to her cottage, her heart filled with a profound sense of contentment. She looked around at the familiar surroundings and knew that, despite the years of separation, the love she had for her grandchildren had never faded. As she sat by the window, watching the sun set over the hills, she felt a deep gratitude for the time they had together and the promise of more to come. In the months that followed, Ellen received letters and phone calls from Mia and Liam. They shared their new adventures and kept her updated on their lives. Ellen wrote back, her letters filled with love and encouragement. They continued to plan future visits, eager to build upon the foundation of their renewed bond. And so, in the heart of a small town, amidst the beauty of a summer well spent, Grandma Ellen and her grandchildren found their way back to each other. Their story was one of love, healing, and the enduring strength of family ties. They had been apart, but their hearts had always been together. Their reunion was a testament to the idea that no matter how much time passes, love can bridge any distance, and family bonds can withstand the test of time. They had found each other again, and that was the greatest gift of all. Story 3. In a serene village surrounded by rolling hills and flowering meadows, Grandpa George lived in a charming old house with a wide porch and a garden full of roses and lavender. The house was a testament to the past, its wooden beams and stone walls telling stories of a life well lived. Grandpa George was a retired historian who spent his days tending to his garden and reminiscing about the past. His greatest joy, however, had been the time he spent with his granddaughters, Emily and Lily, when they were little. Emily and Lily, now in their 20s, had grown up in the city, visiting their grandfather during summer vacations. Those summers had been filled with adventure, exploring the countryside, learning about history through Grandpa George's old books, and listening to his captivating stories of the past. Grandpa George had been a figure of wisdom and warmth, a constant source of love and inspiration for the two girls. But as they grew older, life took them in different directions. Emily went on to study environmental science, and Lily became a graphic designer. Their visits became less frequent as their lives became busier. The once lively house grew quieter, and Grandpa George often found himself wandering through the rooms, lost in memories of the laughter and joy that had filled them. One crisp autumn afternoon, as Grandpa George was tending to his roses, he received a letter from Emily and Lily. The letter was filled with apologies for their absence and updates on their lives. It ended with a heartfelt promise to visit him for the upcoming holiday season, a time they had always cherished as a family. Grandpa George clutched the letter to his chest, his heart swelling with a mix of joy and anticipation. As the days passed, Grandpa George prepared for the girls' arrival with the same care and excitement he had once shown when they were children. He cleaned the house, decorated it with festive ornaments, and baked their favorite cookies, gingerbread men and chocolate chip treats. He even found the old photo albums and dusted off the family heirlooms that had been stored away. When the day of their visit finally arrived, Grandpa George stood at the gate, his heart racing with excitement. He watched as the familiar car drove up the gravel path, and when the doors opened, he saw Emily and Lily stepping out, their faces bright with anticipation. "Grandpa," they cried in unison, running into his arms. Grandpa George hugged them tightly, tears of joy streaming down his cheeks. "My dear girls, it's been too long." They spent the first evening catching up, sharing stories of their lives and reminiscing about the past. They talked about their careers, their travels, and their dreams for the future. Grandpa George listened with pride, marveling at the women they had become. The next day, Grandpa George took Emily and Lily on a tour of the village, just as he had done when they were children. They visited the old bookstore where he used to buy rare books, the quaint cafe where they had enjoyed countless pastries, and the picturesque lake where they had picnicked. As they walked, Grandpa George shared stories about each place, his eyes twinkling with the joy of reliving the past. At the lake, they sat on the same bench where they had shared their hopes and dreams as children. The sun was setting, casting a golden glow over the water. Emily and Lily listened intently as Grandpa George told them about the history of the village, the people who had lived there, and the adventures he had experienced. The stories were as enchanting as ever, and the girls found themselves drawn into the world of their grandfather's memories. Later that evening, they gathered around the fireplace, the room filled with the warmth of the crackling fire and the aroma of freshly baked cookies. Grandpa George took out the old photo album and began flipping through the pages. Each photograph was a window into the past, capturing moments of joy, love, and family. "Do you remember this?" Grandpa George asked, holding up a picture of the three of them standing in the garden, their faces beaming with happiness. Emily and Lily laughed, their eyes misty with nostalgia. "Of course we do, Grandpa. It was one of our favorite summers." They spent hours looking at the photos, sharing their own memories and discovering new stories from Grandpa George. It was a time of reconnection, a moment to reflect on the bond they had shared and to appreciate the memories they had made. As the days went by, they continued to enjoy each other's company. Grandpa George took them to his favorite spots in the village, and they explored the surrounding countryside together. They went on long walks, picking wildflowers and talking about their future. They cooked meals together, each dish a tribute to the family recipes passed down through generations. One night, as they sat around the dinner table, Grandpa George presented Emily and Lily with a special gift. It was an old leather-bound journal, its pages filled with his thoughts, observations, and stories from his travels. "This journal," Grandpa George said, "contains the stories of my life, the history of our family, and the lessons I've learned along the way. I want you to have it, so you can always remember where you came from and the love that binds us together." Emily and Lily accepted the journal with tears in their eyes. "Thank you, Grandpa. We will treasure it always." The holiday season was filled with joy and celebration. They decorated the house, exchanged gifts, and created new memories to cherish. The bond between them grew stronger, their time together a beautiful reminder of the love they shared. On the final night of their visit, they sat by the fireplace, reflecting on their time together. Emily and Lily expressed their gratitude for the memories they had rekindled and the love they had experienced. Grandpa George looked at them, his heart full. "I am so proud of both of you," he said. "You have grown into remarkable individuals, and I am grateful for the time we've had together." Emily and Lily hugged their grandfather, their hearts overflowing with love. "We're grateful too, Grandpa. This time with you has been the most precious gift." As they prepared to leave, Grandpa George stood at the gate, his heart heavy but hopeful. He watched as the car drove away, taking with it the laughter and joy that had filled his home. He knew that the time they had spent together was a gift, a reminder of the enduring bond of family. In the months that followed, Grandpa George received letters and photos from Emily and Lily. They kept him updated on their lives, sharing their successes and challenges. Grandpa George wrote back, his letters filled with wisdom, encouragement, and love. Their reunion had been a beautiful moment, a reminder that no matter how far life's paths might take them, family ties are unbreakable. They had rediscovered their connection, rekindled their love, and created new memories to cherish. And so, in a peaceful village surrounded by nature's beauty, Grandpa George and his granddaughters found their way back to each other. Their story was one of love, legacy, and the unending strength of family bonds. They had been apart, but they had found their way back, and that was a treasure beyond measure.